of to work in this area, they need to look into the things to identify what is cost of poor quality, and to understand this information actually improves your product quality. Now, looking at this, which we call prevention cost. Now, prevention cost is typical account for the largest percentage of cost of quality. Now, again, this cost of quality includes your audit management, continuous improvement projects like CIP, Kaizen, or you can say the scrap requirement, returns, product recalls, returns, which happens. So these prevention costs, where you have a quality team within your services, like they check the incoming material, they check the in-process material, and finally you have a PDI, pre-dispatch inspection teams, which review each and everything, and then they try to reduce your scrap cost. They try to remove failures. They rejected parts are separated, designatedly separately kept. So these are basically prevention costs which you have your quality teams inbuilt. Now, prevention cost can also be associated with cost of good quality, as well as it can be related with cost of poor quality. Now, there was a recent survey after this COVID-19 pandemic, which was fronted by QCI in collaboration with American Society of Quality, where they surveyed around 20 manufacturers which were into manufacturing automotive aftermarket products. Now, these products have they started also actually manufactured due to the pandemic. There were no demand for these automotive parts, so they started manufacturing these PP, your masks, your surgical gloves, and other things. They started manufacturing that. So basically, they said they were spending around 10% of their total quality budget on preventive costs. Again, which reduction in external failure cost. Now, the external failure cost in because the assembly line is totally different. You one day you are manufacturing your auto parts, tools, hand tools, or something which you can supply to the aftermarket, or the to through the aftermarket to the regular marketplace. And the other way, you are trying to manufacture a different product, which is a different process totally. And then to understand what is the cost of poor quality in that, and what is the cost of good quality in here. So they have to understand the dynamics gets changed. Now, the total dimensions which we look into cost of poor quality is internal failure cost and external failure cost. Internally, we can call all the all the activities like the cost of rework, retesting, recertification of machinery and tools. These are all we call internal failure costs. So internal failure costs we try to calculate by understanding what we can recover from our quality problems. Now, once a manufacturer started delivering a part, whether he's manufacturing a coating, which is for the handrails coating, the copper coating for handrails. Now, again, if they're trying to manufacture and they have to do a rework, that is a cost to the company. So if you say your cost of that coating, coating is say 2 rupees, plus if you have to redo that job, it says uh, 1 rupee cost extra, 50 paisa of the labor, 50 paisa of the copper and the process. So that again, that 1 rupee cost, if you have to redo that thing again, that cost comes to at 3 rupees. But you will not be selling it off to your customer at 3 rupees. You will have to sell due to the market dynamics. It will be sold only at 2 rupees. So that 1 rupee difference would always be an internal failure cost, which you need to look into while planning, so that we don't have to waste our efforts. Now, external failure cost, we similarly we can look at how we damage our customer trust. If we sold this item to the customer and this the quality is not good, it actually damages the trust of the customer. He will not buy. He gave you a chance by selecting your product, and in case your product fails the requirements which is it meant for, whether it's a mask you buy, it might be a very low cost thing like buying a mask, but if it doesn't performs the duty which it was being made for, or any sanitizer or sterilizer or any equipment you manufacture which doesn't meet the demand of the customer, it is basically external failure cost, because you have already advertised your product, and your market actually responds very negatively to anything which goes wrong. So one of the example which I have here quoted is about the Sunbeam. They were one of the pioneer coffee makers. In around 2016, what happened? They were fined around 4.6 million US dollars for 32 because there were consumers which said that they felt a electric shock while using this coffee maker. So again, in case that's a coffee maker, instead if you are making a medical device which has to be used in hospital and some malfunction happens in your equipment, it could be very embarrassing and it would be very damaging for the organization. So we have to look into this, how we have to deal with these customer complaints, how to deal with these scenarios, and how to improve our production to understand this external failure cost. Now, to look into the total cost scheme, let's understand what we call cost of poor quality. Now, basically, we say failure, which includes prevention and appraisal. So you have already a quality team within your system. You develop an SOP, you do a process flow chart, you make a team available, you give the equipment to your people to measure quality. And then despite all these things, your product fails. It means this is the cost of poor quality. Now, again, we are trying to prevent errors, but it happens. So how we'll reduce those? We have to understand what is the system. We need to remove those prevention, how we can prevent these things happen. So we calculate the cost of poor quality, which includes material cost. We include the time taken for that cost to be calculated, the reputation of the organization. So in totality, we say waste plus defect means material plus variation into inefficiency means time spent on fixing those. The time taken by your team to trying to find a root cause, trying to resolve those issues. So how is the cost of quality measured? Again, the quality cost is typically divided into four categories. We say prevention, appraisal, internal failure, external failure. So we try to calculate by adding all those things to understand what is the quality cost. So the total quality cost would be something which lies here. So it is also includes the failure cost. It also includes the preventive cost. And again, the overall cost would be there in case your product is non-quality. Now, to understand this in a more deeper sense, now, because cost of quality we knew is a concept which started by Dr. Juran in 1951. That concept is a very old way. We have heard about how Japan made the progress. Now, Japan made a progress because they understood this concept of cost of quality. So they included everything while calculating this thing. Now we can include external costs, we can include internal costs, we can include appraisal cost, prevention cost, sales cost also, because your people also have to spend so much of effort to sell that product. Now you're manufacturing, it's very tough to sell your product also. So it is, again, nowadays we are in social media life. Now we have to put up through our website, we have to make e-brochures to sell this. Again, to selling this concept, you need to put in a lot of effort. Now that also effort has to be included in your cost of quality, so that we can improve our prevention. Now, again, there are two things. One is cost of conformance, the other one is cost of non-conformance. The cost of conformance includes prevention and appraisal things, which we discussed, and the internal failure, external failure, which we are discussing here, is about the financial quantification of your defect. Now, to understand this concept needs that what are the things we must include in our cost of quality. We have to include the scrap. Now, whatever scrap we are generating while manufacturing our, say, bath fittings, what are the scrap we are generating by rework costs? We need to include the rework rate, at what rate we are calculating, and how much during a shift or during a production process, how much scrap or rework is being generated, and what is cost of that rework. How many people are involved in this? See, you say a skilled person, an engineer is involved to detect what is the failure. So he removes, the quality engineer actually removes the scrap, or we say the faulty equipment, faulty material from the okay material. Now that's a qualified person. That qualified person would be at a price. So what is the cost of that person? Say he's an engineer getting a salary of, say, 20,000 rupees. So if you are spending his whole day is spent in just segregating the rejection from the okay material, that's the concept. You have to calculate his 1 day salary because he's been used for that processes. Now, coming up to the legacy of this. Durand started this cost associated with poor quality, and he gave it a quantified manner in which he quantified and gave you all these issues. Now, Frydenberg, another quality guru in 1998, he classified this into cost into categories. So he categorized the cost into different ways, so we can have understand the cost of quality in a better. And the accountants, basically the financial people, we are trying to make them ensure that they understand what is quality and what is the cost of bad quality. Now, again, in 2010, Bergman and Classo did some research. They stated that the poor quality cost and quality cost are not good quality terms. Again, the impression was high quality costs, while it make it lack its fact, it's the lack of poor quality that costs more. So if you have not good quality, you suffer as an organization. Now, further, there have been definitions which are COPQ defining as a total losses caused by the product and processes, a company not being perfect. So, in case a GE manufactures because they are GE manufacture the aircraft engine also. So, if they you feel you sell an aircraft engine and there is a chance of that there is a 0.3%, say the Six Sigma company GE is, but still you fail that one engine out of the thousands they manufacture on a yearly basis. So one engine fails, what is the cost of that? So if it gets an accident, what would be the cost? It would be a total disaster. So to understand this, total loss theory came into this. Harrington is another quality guru, is known for his beautiful book by for IBM, The Price of Cost, in which he gave the concept of all the costs incurred to help the employee do the right job. Every time cost of determining if the output is acceptable or not, plus any cost incurred by the company and the customer because the output did not meet the specification or the customer expectation, is what Harrington stated. There are further things which Greiner has also given you, that invisible cost of poor quality, which the diagram which we known as the iceberg diagram is one of the things which he gave. Now, now there are things which we must understand. Cost related to prevention of non-conformance. Yes, it's a prevention cost. The cost would be there for preventive approach, for preventive maintenance, for preventive quality checks, incoming check, in-process check, final quality check. These are all prevention costs which you do. You get a quality audit done. You do a second party audit on your vendor. You get it done. You try to get a third party audit done and get your certification. ISO is also prevention cost. Getting the applying for the certification is also a prevention approach. Now, again, appraisal is cost related to inspection or testing. Yes, it is the cost related to inspection or testing must be included in your appraisals also. And cost related to failure, yes, it is a cost. It might be internal, it might be external. That's a cost to you. So you have to understand there is always a cost in all the activities you carry out. So any reduction in your cost of poor quality comes directly in profit. So anything, your total profit, if you say the concept of total profit is, which includes cost of poor quality, again, it impacts your total benefits. Now, what are the tools which we drive for improvement? We use this to preventive costs, to understand preventive costs, appraisal costs, failure costs. In that, we can map our performance, which shows us the mirror. The accountant can get the data for you and showcase, okay, sir, how much cost we today incurred while investing, say, making a quality product. In case a product is not quality, which we deliver to the customer, it became a customer complaint. What is the cost of poor quality? Then the both ways you have to calculate to understand the cost of quality concept. Now, how the QMS helps you to reduce that cost of quality? Now, QMS is basically a tool which we call as the change management tool, which is designed as a certification system of PDCA, Plan, Do, Check Act. But the main crux of this standard or the system which we talk about is that change management tool that tracks costs. It tracks your costs and risk associated with different options, help you to plan for a smooth transition. So integrated QMS helps you to link your processes so that we can understand what are the requirements of my employees, what are the employee training requirements, and how can I control documents or processes so that we can achieve cost reduction. Now, cost reduction, we can use a basic concept in TQM, which is basically total quality management was the concept which the Japanese used to the full effect. And we call the system as Toyota Way. The Toyota Way system principles are similar. It talks about how we can reduce cost throughout the organization. So how we can address the areas, what type of scrap we generate, how many activities we have to do rework, what is the field service requirements, what are the warranty costs involved, how we can deal with those inputs and outputs, and how we can reduce our complaints. Now there is a story, many years back, IBM was searching for a chip manufacturer. So they asked for a company in Japan, they located a company in Japan to supply to them their chips. So what they said, the electronic chips. So they asked them that this is our cost of quality and this is the critical to quality parameters. They shared that critical to quality parameter. They said we only accept not more than 5% of rejection in your chips. So we need a defect-free product, but only 5% rejection would be acceptable at our end. So that was the message they sent across to them on a, say, that time there was no emails. It was sent through a courier, through a mail service, and that was there. And what they, after say 2 months, they received their package. They received the package. There were two different packages. In the one package, the company which had manufactured those chips has sent, these are the total order requirements. We didn't understand your 5% rejection requirement. So what we have done, we have 100% okay products in one packing, and the other second packet we have give 5 numbers of rejection out of the 100 chips which you asked for. So this is how you have to inbuilt your quality in a system, that there's a defect free product can be possible. So that's how we are going to talk about quality management systems. Actually it saves you money if you think about that. Now what are the things which you have to look into? We have to look into the improved strategies. What are the improved strategies? Because it looks at the strategic approach to process. What is our process? Input, activity, output, inbuilt with the risk based thinking. And the output also carries a feedback loop, the feedback from the customer to the internal customer or to the external customer, whether we met the requirements or we don't met the requirements. So what are the gaps? So that's the strategy which have to inbuilt. Your PDCA, plan, do, check, act has to be inbuilt in every activity. It also helps you to understand the customer better. So that's why the clause 4, 5 are being given in the standard itself. Clause 4 talks about context of the organization, which is improved customer understanding. Understanding the requirements, voice of the customer. The other day we discussed about VOC. So voice of the customer is one of the things we have to understand what is the customer wanting and how we can improve our system by reducing those and managing those complaints. In case the customer feedback is there, which is negative, to use that negative feedback to improve our techniques and to remove barriers like wasted resources and to avoid compromising quality levels. Now, focuses also on prevention than correction. The focus here is on prevention. That's why the risk-based thinking has been introduced, so that we can consider each and every activity, each and every process in the organization. In case we don't meet that desired output, it is a risk. So how to deal with those risks is basically the challenge and the thinking in which this QMS framework works. Now, again, the kappa functionality, which in case of a rejection or a customer complaint happened, what in a good system we don't call it nowadays. Kappa is the old word. Now we use the word called kaka, which is corrective correction and corrective actions. So all these preventive action actually has to be inbuilt in your systems. Your management system should be so smooth so that you have preventive approach across the board. So it should not be that we have to do an expensive root cause analysis. It should be a very cost effective method to do a root cause analysis. So we have to maximize our revenue by removing waste and removing defects. Now, again, there is another concept called chronic waste. Now, many organizations focus too much on, we know, understand what are the benefits of the quality. But again, if, in case we not meet the requirements of the, like we don't provide trainings and we don't do effective audits of our systems, and we don't have an effective document management system and resource allocation, what would you do? It would be chronic waste, because you make a record or a document which is not effective, We don't document our audits. There are again smaller issues being raised each and every time an inspection or a customer visit comes. There is always a rejection. You're not taking any action. You're not working on using the quality tools like Pareto and others to analyze what are the chronic issues in the organization. So Dr. Juran used to say that if any organization doesn't work on that chronic waste, it will not be able to improve its performance. So to reduce that chronic waste is to understand what are the chronic waste. You must have a history. The knowledge should be available within the organization. What are the factors which are again coming again and again in the organization. Now another structured process improvement. Now the process improvement or control improvement is always inbuilt, where you are trying to improve on a daily basis how we can improve our effectiveness, how we can improve our activities, so that we can achieve quality at across every aspect of the job. And once we try to reduce cost of those jobs, we can reinvest that cost into our products to improve our businesses with strategies which improves continuous improvement, and we can improve our efficiencies. Now, how quality management today we have to look into. Sometimes we miss this thing. This is a simple thing, which is input, process step, another process step, another process step. In quality management system, the only thing which they are asking you to do is to define the critical to quality parameters in your each and every process step, so that whatever there is, it's simpler, it's easily understandable, and what are the targets you're, so you can meet after each process step. You are you meeting those targets or not? That's the critical parameter you need to measure. So that's what quality management systems are asking you to do. And further, deeper in, we have to go into your process. We have to understand what is the input, what is the process step, how we establish the baseline performance, what are the monitor actual performances, how we compare the CTQ targets, take action on those differences. So the output, which means the blue one is the production steps and the gray ones are the appraisal and control costs. So you have to make more your systems more refined, so that we are always meeting the targets. We're trying to establish the baseline against which is the critical to quality parameters, how we monitor the actual performance on a daily basis in each process, who is going to monitor those, what is going to be monitored, and when it is going to be monitored. So 5W1H needs to be looked into. How you're going to monitor those needs to be answered in your processes. And then compare those, like yesterday what was the target, whether we met those targets. Today what is the, what we did different from yesterday, and last month what we achieved, this month what we are not achieving. So there's always a comparison. In comparison we can always find, in data we can say it's a positive trend or a negative trend, and again we can take actions on those based on those trends. Now nowadays we are going to talking about these apps which are available. Now there are a lot of apps available to understand your workflow, so that we can easily collect all data which is input, activity, output data. So we can improve our production, we can improve our products, we can create, test and deploy quickly. We can have visual controls, like we use visual controls. We're having 1 point lessons, we are having kaizens displayed at the shop floor, we have do's and don'ts. We can enable them using technology. We can make them enabled on your laptops, on your visual devices. Visual TVs are being put in modern factories nowadays. So all these can be IoT enabled, which means it can be connected with machines. You can have the big data analytics. You can have data driven techniques. You can have interactive logic. You can use artificial intelligence. So there is a lot of things which has been done. In the next session with Chawla sir, you will be getting into deep into that process. Now again, there are many apps. Basically what you have to do, marry your process with quality. This is what I wanted to convey. That process, if it is digitized, it should be able to guide people, so that we can understand the complete manufacturing operation in a single view. We can understand what is the input, what are the critical to quality products, what are the outputs, and where we are measuring, where we are reviewing, what are the real time data we are collecting, and what are the use of those data. So that is what we need to look into. We can use QMS, we have to update our QMS, but the only thing we have to control is the cost of poor quality. Each and every activity which we are looking at is need to be looked into various details. what type of quality inspection we carry out, what type of work instructions we are putting up, what is the machine maintenance frequency, what is the machine maintenance activities you carry out, how many times audit has been done in your organization, what is the sampling activity, or what type of amount you spend on Kaizen events. Again, this type of data would help you to enable your cost of poor quality analysis in a better way. To understand, we adopt many things. What are the desired requirements? We try to inculcate the right features. We trying to achieve the customer loyalty. Again, the right features include the good price and the market share and the higher revenue. But lower deficiencies, in case we don't have the right features in our product, customer loyalty is affected. Fast time cycle, low warranty cost, low scrap rework, low total cost. Again, these are some of the things which you have to remove the deficiencies, try to improve, inculcate the right features in our products. This is what I was trying to convey about the iceberg. So this is the visual things. Already many of the organization knows about them. They know about the customer returns, the waste, the reject, the testing cost, the rework, and the recall. But they don't understand, uh, because they don't have the data calculation in their teams, in their systems, where they have excessive overtimes while manufacturing a product, having lack of follow up, planning delays, expediting costs, premium freight. Again, these are some of the things which are being mentioned again and again by your customers. And these customers always ask for this, that if you work on a principle of calculating this cost of quality and cost of poor quality within the organization, you can achieve, uh, you can remove all these unseen rejections, also the unseen cost of barriers, which are unused capacities and excessive inventory, which is again a cost on your quality and maybe a cost of poor quality. So generally, cost of poor quality ranges from 15 to 25% of your total cost. So in case if you trying to admit to improve these, you will be able to achieve results which are going to benefit the organization. Now, coming up to the next concept, uh, we are going to talk about a concept called value engineering. Now, another way to look at cost of quality is, because value engineering is basically a systematic, organized approach to provide necessary functions. Again, we are trying to make a product or a project at the lowest cost possible. Now, value engineering promotes actually substituting the material and method. If this method doesn't work, we can we substitute this? So again, this is a method which is at the drawing board itself. When you're sitting to develop a product or a process, you look at value engineering, how we can reduce cost by having less expensive alternatives. Can we have, say, taking power from the grid, instead of taking power from the grid, let's take power from a powered electric captive power plant, which is again more cheaper in the long run, and it is continuous. Now again we have to look at the functionality also, whether this would be suitable to organization. Like nowadays government of India is pushing for these battery operated vehicles. Now the electric auto is the keyword, now the buzzword. Now most of the manufacturers started manufacturing electric vehicles. Now again, the value engineering would always be there in collecting that type of new product. So we have to look at the product service, what are the elements of utility, what are the worth of this, and what are the elements of the cost. So value is basically function divided by cost. So if you have to look at how we can collect data which is more effective, and how we can make it applicable, and how what are the alternatives available, and how we can conduct a value stream analysis, then we can develop a good prototype which is effective and available to all. So we can reduce cost by understanding the value concept. The value engineering is a concept where we trying to develop a product or a service, trying to reduce its cost by using alternative ways. Now there are five key steps in this, which we discuss in value engineering. One is the information phase, to understand what we want to do and what we want to achieve. Then we speculate. Speculate is a creative word which we use. In the creative sense, we try to, like in Six Sigma, we say define. So in creative sense, we are trying to define what is the problem and how we want to resolve that problem. So it's a creative process. Then you evaluate, do the analysis part, whether this solution which you thought about is it going to improve, show the improvement, and the calculation of that requirement. whether it is going to achieve the results which we are planning for. Then we develop the phase, which is value management proposals. And then we do the presentation, which is oral or a report to the management that what they want to achieve. Now, the goal of this is to ensure that the customer receives full value of every amount of money they spent on the project. So, value engineering is properly used to reduce cost while maintaining quality and functionality. So, it doesn't mean reducing cost, we have to reduce the functionality or that quality of that product. It has to always cannot be achieved. It's not a easy job, because now once this phone came into the market, the 4G phones or the smartphones which we know, they took a lot of effort. Now, earlier they were very costly once they started out. Now we can have a smartphone which is capable enough in sub 10,000 values also. So it means we can reduce costs by having value engineering concept, by understanding the pre-workshop, which is project coordination or data preparation. And then we do in the workshop, we try to do the information, functional, creative, evaluation, development, and presentation. And after which you submit a final report. And then once the report is approved, you implement and project follow-up happens. Now, this is the typical value engineering. So it actually increases the value of a new product. Now, can do new things also. It can apply the whole plant life of the product. Again, what you can do is that the first thing in value engineering is that you must set a target which is global. You have to make a product thinking about that we have to make a best product which is available in the market. Now, the second part is map performance with self best. Now, in that performance, what good product you have manufactured to date, you map that to the, and then take some target which is not easily achievable. Again, the other thing you have to do value streaming cost everything. You have to question everything what can go wrong. So always try to have people in your team which question that whether this if this is what happened. So evaluate at minimum theoretical consumption and use all the statistical tools like 7 to SPC and other tools. Then try to minimize waste, try to reuse and recycle and innovate, and ultimately you will be able to achieve products which are uh, gives value to our customer. So in end, I would say, uh, very cost or component cost no longer is always there, because we are living in a world which is driven by social media, driven by the virtual economy. We are living in a world where the generation X is questioning the millennials, and the millennials thinking they know everything. But the millennials and the generation X, the difference is so much, because you can see that thing happening in the Facebook and the Twitter wars and these new
I think there is problem with SARS connection.
hello.
Yes, it seems.
I think some network issue happened.
Yeah, sir.
Hello.
You can continue, sir.
Okay. Um, so this was in my last slide only. I was talking about that to understand this cost component at each, we have to calculate the cost of quality at each and every step of my process, so that we can commit that in our manufacturing operations, we must ensure that each and every product or component which we are manufacturing, we can are able to troubleshoot in case there's a failure in a product, so that we can improve our quality, productivity, and deliver, and to reduce the failure cost, because external costs are very heavy these days, because any bad product, a bad review on say social media, a bad review of any service or product, because not
Again, I think there is some connection problem. Ankur sir?
Hello.
Hello, Hanji sir.
I think some interruption is there at his end. Na?
Yeah, at his end, but he's again logged in.
Okay, okay.
So should we wait for a few minutes? Or we should continue with Ankur sir? Sir, I think his presentation was over. So can we proceed further? Ankur sir, are you able to hear us?
Hello.
Hello, Hanji sir.
I'm available now. No,
Okay,
online
okay,
with.
sir. Continue.
Yes, I think, sorry for that. I think there's network issue at my end. So this is all about from my side. If you have any questions related to this, if you there's any question you can ask about that, because cost and quality, we have now very good tools available. There are apps available where you can monitor data quality, information sharing against there are various things which you can improve by using these apps to monitor each and every process.
Naresh sir? Naresh sir? Ankur sir, can you hear us? Hello? Ankur sir? Ankur sir, you can say Naresh sir is here now. Naresh sir? You can,
Hello.
yeah.
Yeah, I also got
Logged off.
yeah, some internet problem is coming. I don't know.
That's fine. So moving further, I introduce Mr. Naresh Chawla. He's senior consultant with Kaizen Institute India, and he is associated with Kaizen Institute as a senior consultant, and is the original. Kaizen Institute is the original and premier provider of Kaizen services, having its presences in 50 plus countries. And Mr. Chawla is an accomplished business excellence coach with over 25 years of experience in driving innovation, continuous improvement, and performance excellence in different organizations. He is certified productivity practitioner from Asian Productivity Organization, Japan. And before getting associated with Kaizen, Kaizen Institute, he was program coordinator and visiting professor with Center for Total Quality Management, Punjab Engineering College. And today he'll be covering topics preventive cost prevention rather than appraisal, application of Industry 4.0 in reducing cost, and reducing cost of poor quality through digitalization. Over to you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So thanks, Ankur. Ankur has covered some of the aspects of cost of poor quality and how we can reduce the cost. So I will take that point further, that how we can reduce the cost by using some other methodologies also. So let me share my screen. Ma'am, you have to give me a right to share.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
You can share.
Okay. Just a minute. Yes. So first of all, we will just see that what is the broad methodology or a broad structure of an MSME, that how we do our business. So, typical model which we are having in any MSME is right now is that we are doing some trade-off. So there are three key features which customer is looking into any product: that it should be of good quality, it should be cheap, it should be cost effective, and it should be delivered when it is required. So what happened, what we are trying to do, we generally say that, okay, I will give you a reasonably cost effective product at a faster delivery, but that may not be of good quality. But now we all know that those days have gone. We have to give some good quality. So if we are giving a good quality, and if you are you can say trying to reduce the cost, so in that case sometimes we are trying to sacrifice on delivery aspects. And if we are trying to meet the delivery requirements, as well as you can say your the quality of goods, so in that case we are increasing the cost. So that is one problem which we are having, that we need to improve the cost without sacrificing our delivery commitments and without sacrificing our quality commitments with our customer. So now, how to do this? How to deal with this scenario? There is a paradigm, general paradigm, that means we will say that the quality can only be increased if you are increasing the cost. So this paradigm has been challenged by Japanese, which Ankur must have explained to you earlier, that it is not, you can say, the cost is caused by not doing the right first time. So right first time is not there. So that is why we are having a more cost. So if we are trying to do things right first time, we will definitely have a very, very cost effective model. So that paradigm was challenged by the people in Japan, and more or less everybody is trying to follow this model now. Sorry, actually right now I am in the university, so that is why, means some, I think, packing activities are going on there. So you just have to excuse me for that. So we will first understand that what is a cost structure. Cost structure in any material, in any product, we have a material cost. Okay, the material cost, thank you. Material cost is there. Then we have something called conversion cost. And after this, we have transportation cost and the logistic cost and the marketing cost. Okay, so I will not talk about the marketing cost and transportation logistic cost because there are different things. But we will focus more on material cost and conversion cost. So when I say the material cost, the first cost which comes to our mind is the BOM, bill of material. That how my you can say total product is getting packed. Bill of material is there. Then my cost is the payment which I have to made to the suppliers. The supplier could be of the materials. Apart from BOM, I am also taking so many other materials like say some spare part is there, or some electricity bill is there. Okay, all these are the payment to suppliers which I have to make. So these are my cost. Then manpower is one cost. So I have to see that where my cost is more. So if I'm finding that my bill of material cost is more, then I will be having a different strategy. If my you can say operation cost or maintenance cost is high, then I will be have a different strategy. If my manpower cost, I will be having a different strategy. So how to analyze that which cost is more and which uh, strategy I have to adopt. We are all entrepreneurs, so we understand the gross contribution, that there is something called sale price, then we are having a BOM cost. So if I subtract my direct material cost from the sale price, I will get my gross contribution. So this is applicable to all the products, whether you are making your sanitizer, whether you are making your any mask is there, or any product is there, you must be having some selling price. Selling price is going to the market. Okay? You have your own BOM, so that is a gross contribution. Then now this gross contribution will also help you to understand that how much volume you have to produce. Means for having you can say no profit no loss, means where you are break even, so that when you will cross that level, only then you will be able to make the profit. It will help in that. So I will not talk about that you people might be aware. I will talk about a very interesting ratio which I have analyzed during my advisory career. You can say this gross contribution by the manpower cost. This is a very important indicator. I am telling you, in a few of the organization I have given this indicator, and at that time I was with NPC, National Productivity Council. So in those organizations, this indicator is still means called NPC metric, that your sale price minus BOM divided by your uh, manpower cost. So every 1 rupee which we are spending on, you can say manpower, it should yield, including all my cost, it should give me at least 4 to 5 rupees. So this ratio has to be 4 to 5. If this ratio is less than that, it means either my manpower cost is very high. So if manpower cost is very high, so I have to rationalize, whether I have to see that whether my manpower skill is not there, or it may be my BOM cost is very high. Now, when the BOM cost is high, it could be because of two reasons. It could be that I am using some different material, and that material is expensive. So I can go for some value analysis or value engineering technique. Or it could be that my internal rejections are very high. So that is why my material cost is very high. So that I have to see, and accordingly I will go for the various means your methodologies which I will be having. Value engineering, value analysis is there. Then I may see that if I have to go for some you can say material of construction, means you must have seen that there were a lot of things which were coming in steel. Now those things are coming into plastic, or they are coming into aluminium, or from copper we have shifted to aluminium. The best example is your radiator. Car radiator is there, or in your geyser, you can see the copper has been replaced. Okay, so the material construction has been changed, or I have to change the design. The best example of value engineering or value analysis I can give you today, only I was discussing with some doctor. He came from US, so he was showing his experience that in San Jose there is some museum where they have kept a one pacemaker which was made first time, and the pacemaker which today we are using. So the first pacemaker was almost this size, and now it's only a pin size. So previously they have to replace the battery of that pacemaker after 10 years or 15 years, but now you can even have a lifelong product. So a lot of changes on materials, or you can say the technological front has happened, and you can classify all those things like value engineering or value analysis things. And then method improvement, I go when my conversion cost is very high, and means I may have to go for some different method of manufacturing. And when I say the different method of manufacturing, it doesn't mean that I have to change the technology altogether. It may be the layout, it may be the ergonomics of that space, which may be adding fatigue to the worker, and in turn I'm getting a lesser productivity. So that area generally fall, you can say, in the lean domain, that I have to see that what are the non-value added activities and how I can remove, and I can add more value, and I can reduce my cost. Then the fourth thing is that I have to see the equipment reliability, because if my machinery is creating a problem, there are a lot of breakdowns are happening. So it is not only consuming my spare parts, it is also consuming my manpower, and it is also increasing my lot sizes. So my inventory will increase. So inventory is one cost which is very, very huge, and sometimes we are not realizing that that cost is there. I remember I did one project of cluster development was there in Mohali itself. So um, I remember, means there was some talk going on between the MSME officers and our, you can say, the people who participated in that, and they asked that what is the benefit which you have got. So one entrepreneur, he replied that the major benefit which I have got is, which I understand, is that I was having my factory at two different locations. So there was a, you can say, transportation cost of more than rupees 2 lakhs per month. So now means layout has been changed and both the factories have been combined. So that 2 lakhs per month I have saved, and I have saved, you can say, 500 or 1000 yard plot is there, that is saved. Rest everything means the balance sheet will save. Okay, so these are the visible the cost saving you can have when you are going for method improvements or lean deployment. Your space, time, and your inventory, all these things will get saved. Because most of the times, we are trying to meet the delivery requirements from the customer side by keeping inventory. Because inventory, if inventory is there, we feel that we will be able to meet the customer demand. But if we could do something in our system which will improve my, you can say, turnaround time or TAT. So what will happen, that even at small notices I will be able to supply my product to um, my customer. So that will reduce the requirement of inventory. So if the requirement of inventory is reduced, my requirement of space will automatically get reduced. So major focus is in flow, that if I am improving the flow of my material, naturally my cost will come down. And last but not the least, which Ankur has explained in a very detailed fashion, that the cost of poor quality. The cost of poor quality, when I say that the cost of not doing the things right first time. And if I am doing the things right first time, those costs will be eliminated. Right. So MSME, why it is important for MSME. I'm not targeting only this panel, which is by and large comprising the people who are making sanitizer or mask or the COVID related things. Any MSME. So MSME is contributing almost 8% to the GDP and 45% in the total manufacturing output. It is coming from this MSME sector, and 40% of our total export, it is dependent upon MSME. And if we have to improve our export, so we have to improve our operational excellence. We have to bring down our costs. We have to make our product faster in delivery. We have to improve our product quality, and at the same time we have to improve the features of our product, that what our product can do. I can give you one small example, which means you may be able to appreciate. You must have seen a toothbrush. So in toothbrush, you know, the major function is done by the bristles, but the cost of that bristle is very less as compared to the total body. So now I just read a few days back only that the Colgate is coming up with a new brush where you can replace the bristles. You can retain the body and you can replace the bristles. So that become a very cost effective. You don't need to buy every time 30 rupees, 40 rupees brush for you. The same thing you can see in your product, where you can see that what is the value added part. So if you see a sanitizer is there, handheld sanitizer is there. So last time also I have shown you the picture that if you have to use in a public space, then the requirement is different. You will like to go for a foot operated one, but if it you have to use in one particular home, then it may not be a foot operated. You can just press it with your own hand. So the cost of you can say that model will be less than the previous one, right? So that is and again, I think Ankur must have explained to you that the quality should be handled the same way we are handling our finance. In finance, what we are doing, we are having a financial planning, we are having financial control, and then we are going for you can say profit enhancement or financial improvement. So similarly, we are having functions like quality planning is there, quality control is there, or quality improvement is there. So same way we need to handle, we need to plan our product. If we are planning our product well, it will give us, you can say, least problem during manufacturing, and our cost of control will be less, and we will be able to deliver a better product to our customer. And the latest technologies which are coming in industry 4.0, and they are helping us in a very big way for meeting all these requirements. This pyramid, I'm sure many of you must have seen many times, that if we are spending 1 rupee at the design stage or in the prevention, it will save us over 100 rupees during a failure. Means failure, when I'm saying failure, it means when it is going to the customer. So it will also save 10 rupees when it is getting corrected inside. So we have to spend more on prevention, okay, and little bit on our corrective actions, and there should not be any failure at client end. That is our objective which we are having. Cost of quality, Ankur has explained you very well that it's a combination of cost of conformance and cost of non-conformance. So when I say the cost of conformance, it means the cost of good quality. Means I am spending some money to make my product good, to make my product as per the specification. So I say that is a cost of good quality, and then there is a cost of poor quality. So the older model was that we are trying to have a balance between cost of good quality and the cost of poor quality. But now that model has gone, that the cost of poor quality, the failure should not be there. The best examples are you can say the aviation industry or the hospital industry. Means you cannot say that means if you are flying, you cannot advertisement means do that if you are flying in my airways, then you have a 1 in a million chance of dying. No, you have to be foolproof. There should not be any chance that there is an accident or a short landing or a long landing. Similarly, in healthcare means no doctor can say that I can save only 5% of the people or 10% of the people will not be saved, something like this. So the cost of poor quality has to be zero. And for that, we have to build quality into the design. That is very important. You cannot you can say make quality through inspection. That is a Western way of doing. I still remember there was one client of mine. He used to say, sir, it doesn't matter how much failure it is happening inside my factory, but I want that it should not go to my client, means it should not go to my customer as a bad quality. So I used to say that first of all, you have to control what is happening inside, because if inside something bad is happening, so there is a chance that some product which is a bad product, which your system may not be able to catch, and it will go to the customer. and the whole batch will get rejected. Again, that is a mindset. Means concept of external customer we all understand. We understand that whatever I am giving to my external customer, it has to be good. But if you see the concept of TQM or the concept of Japanese management system, we also talk about the internal customer, that whatsoever I am giving into my next process, it has to be in a perfect shape. It has to be, you can say, of good quality, right? Many times it happens that I try to pass on the bad material till it is getting inspected at end of the line. So when I am rejecting the product at that point, sometimes it pinches me that not many value has been added, and at that stage I am rejecting it. So that I have to take care of, that during my internal value chain, I should not pass the bad product. And as I was sharing with you that today I was with the Chitkara University, so I was sharing the same thing with the students, that by and large, this has come in Japanese system because of their influence of Buddhism. Because in Buddhism say that I will not accept anything bad, I will not produce anything bad, and I will not pass on anything bad. So that is a concept of internal customer, that I will not accept anything which is happening bad in my previous operation. I myself will not produce any bad quality, and I will not pass any bad quality to the next operation. So if we are having this concept into our manufacturing, I'm sure our external customer will automatically get satisfied. Right. So this, I will not spend much time on this. This cost of poor quality has been explained to you, that we have something called prevention cost, we have something called appraisal cost, then cost of failure, then cost of internal failure. Okay, what I want to say, what I want to emphasize, that there is something which we say the cost of control, and there is something is the cost of failure of controls. Right. So it is very, very important to understand that some cost, what we say the cost of good quality, which we have to deploy, we say the cost of controls, that has to be there. And then there is a cost of failure of those controls. So we have to see that our controls, whatever controls we are deploying, it should not fail. This iceberg you have seen, so I will just skip this. Okay, so this is the broader, you can say, element of the cost of poor quality, the prevention cost, appraisal cost, internal failure. This I will also skip, not an issue. Okay, I will just try to explain this, that how the competitiveness can be increased if we are focusing on cost of quality and the cost of poor quality, and how the modern technologies, the industry 4.0 is further helping us in improving or reducing the cost of poor quality. Right. So, we have a theoretical cost and we have a cost of quality. Okay. And then whenever there is a price erosion is there, what will happen? Means because selling price will not change, but your cost will go high. So our profit, that will get deteriorated if there is some price erosion is there. If we have to reduce the price because of you can say competitive pressures, so what will happen? That my profit will get reduced because my cost remains the same, right? So if I am reducing my cost of poor quality, my profit will remain same. I'll just try to explain another picture. Right. I have to increase a little bit of prevention. Okay. Appraisal also I have to reduce, and my internal failure and my external failure both will get reduced. It's there. I'm still showing some red just to say that there is still some you can say room for improvement. Otherwise, your internal failure and external failure has to be zero if your prevention and appraisal costs are good. Right. So in all these pictures, you will see that our theoretical cost is same. I'm not touching my theoretical cost. But when I'm deploying this industry 4.0 these days, even my theoretical cost will come down. Okay, so previously we were having only one method, that value engineering was there, who was trying to reduce my theoretical cost. But now with the advent of Industry 4.0, I can even challenge my theoretical cost, right? So that is a positive impact of quality Industry 4.0 I'm having, that it is not only attack appraisal cost, it will eliminate my inspection, testing, and it will further attack the theoretical cost by improving the efficiency of our operations. I will just explain with some example. First, many people may not be aware about what Industry 4.0 is. So quickly, I will give you some reference of Industry 4.0. We all know that industrialization started somewhere in the early 20th century, and mainly it was with the advent of steam engine. So when the steam engine was there, so industry started using the power of steam for manufacturing a product. So that was the first revolution, we say. And then in 20th century, we even started the use of electricity. Electricity was already there. The Benjamin uh, uh, has already invented this. Faraday was there. They invented the electricity, but electricity was not put in the right use. So somewhere in 20th century, Henry Ford, he changed the scenario. He made the assembly line, and the mass production concept of mass production was there, and that was the beginning of, you can say, your industry 2.0. And somewhere in 70s, or you can say in India, maybe in late 80s or early 90s, when I started my career, I remember that computerization was at full swing, and many people went for IT revolution, and even there were a lot of funds which were given to the government department for reviving and building efficiency into their systems, the use of computers, and maybe I think it was because Mr. Rajiv Gandhi, he became our prime minister. Then he was having Mr. Sam Pradoda as their advisor. So that is how the computerization came to India. But that was in silos. It was not connected. And the concept of Industry 4.0 says that all people are connected. So if you see that our first concept of connectivity was a mail, that when we are sending a mail, there I could connect with one person, but that is not a real time connection. Then we were having a website. Website was also a connection. Okay. Then we were having a e-commerce where I could send money also through a website. Okay. So Internet of Content was there. IOC, Internet of Content. And then came the era of Internet of People, when one person is able to connect with another person. The WhatsApp is the best example. On a live moment, I can get connected with you, or this Zoom meeting is there. This is a Internet of People. Then came the concept of IoT, the Internet of Things, that everything which is existing in our factory, they can talk to each other. The machine can talk to the person can talk to the person. Okay, machine can talk to another machine. So and this is already happening in Germany. Means this concept has taken a very deep roots, and they are even having factories where only the robots are working. So I'm not saying that that concept will come to India in a very near future. I just want to take the positives of this movement. The one positive is that data collection has become faster. Data storage has become very convenient. Most of the times whenever we are doing something, what happens that we are having a three kind of data. We say my data, your data, and their data. But now when you are using a cloud, uh, you can have the sanctity in data. The data will be the same. I will access the same data, you will access the same data, so there will not be any confusion in that. That is the impact of Industry 4.0, you can say. So IoT and IoTs I've already explained to you, which will help us in collecting and analyzing the data. So which will reduce our energy cost, and which will also reduce the tracking means I'm sure not many people are already using QR code, or you can say for barcoding is there. So all these things are already in use. So and the best example is RFID. So RFID are means getting very popular, and which are making our life easier. One example I can give you of that the FASTag is there. Okay, so in the FASTag, they will read your data, and the amount will get automatically detected from your wherever you have deposited money, and the time will come that it will be linked to your credit card or debit card. So the seamless synchronization of activity is there. Okay, automated inspection is there. Machine monitoring can be automated, right? So then cloud technology, which I was explaining you, that you can have centralized data, real-time data analysis is possible. Even audits, that is a major pain in the back which we are having these days. So the requirement of audits will come down drastically because everything will be transparent. So that is again one cost which we are incurring. This big data machine learning, I am not touching much. I will just try to explain this with one example where, with the help of this, we will try to anticipate what our demand will be. And the difference between the forecasted demand and the actual demand is coming down with the use of the big data and machine learning algorithms. Additive manufacturing is a very big change. If you talk about the manufacturing side, uh, additive manufacturing or 3D printing, it is more known by that. And this has already come, you can say, when we are going for a prototype building, this concept is already there. But the time will come that when you will actually use this additive manufacturing for mass production, mass customized production. This is a very new concept, mass production, but it will be a customized production. When I say mass, doesn't mean that one piece you have to produce many times. Mass means that you can produce it for many people, and you can even customize it for one single person. So that is the beauty of additive manufacturing which you are having. And even for the critical spare parts, you can use this. Means right now what we are doing, that we have to keep some inventory for the critical spare parts. The time will come that you will have a printer with you, and as soon as something goes wrong and some spare part is not there, you can actually print that. So maybe after 40-50 years, this printer will be at our home. It says handle is broken or something is broken. So I will not go to the market to buy that handle. I will actually print that handle. Augmented reality, it's a very good tool for training people. We were already using this virtual reality and augmented reality when we are training our pilots. Now it is coming even for training the welders, the machinists, all these things. All those peoples can be trained in that environment, especially when the product is critical, machine is critical, machine learning is, you can say, it's a big problem for the new people sometimes. So all those problems will get eliminated if you are having using augmented reality. And this augmented reality, it will also foster the supply chain. I have seen some case studies, where the people will be having some wearables. Wearables means just like I'm wearing a spec. Okay, so I will have one chip. I will insert chip here, and the data will be projected just before me, that how much to send, where to send, especially in the warehouse where that material is kept. So my warehousing efficiency will increase. Social media and blockchain, these are the tools which are for instant customer feedback. When you go to a restaurant, if the restaurant is not good, so what will you do? The first thing, you may be putting some rating on a Facebook or some other site, right? So that becomes instant reaction of the customer for any product. So you can use these things in a multiple way in the industry for optimizing the resources, then asset utilization, labor productivity, inventories, quality, supply and demand matching, then time to market, after sales services. So there are a lot of things where we can use these industry 4.0 technologies in our day-to-day manufacturing. This I will skip. So I will just take that example which Ankur was also explaining, that how things will change when we are having uh, industry 4.0 or IoT's enabled processes there. So we have some input. Okay, so I am showing inputs and the process steps in a green color, and all my quality parameters, they are in my red color. So I'm having some input. Okay, then I'm checking it. Okay, then it is going to next step. Okay, if there is any failure, it will you can say I have to make some correction. Okay, so a lot of time consuming activities are there. Now what will happen, the things will be built into the process itself. I will give you one example. There was one of my client where I used to go and tell them that how to make a control charts. So we used to take some data, and with the help of data, we used to plot a control charts and conclude whether the process is stable or not. So now they have got a new machine. So in that machine, the control chart is built into that machine itself. So you know what happened? Means machine itself has a red zone, yellow zone, and green zone. So if the machine is running perfectly, I will move in a green zone. So moment I want to say some message to a supervisor, it will come to the yellow zone. Okay, and if it is not running correctly or some parameter is disturbed, maybe it is pressure, the temperature, the pH value, whatever parameters it is there. So it will, you can say, send a signal. So the time will come that the machine will auto correct also. So there are two steps. One is that it will send a signal that it is not working. Okay, so you have to interrupt it, you have to stop it, and then make corrective actions. Okay, and the last stage is when the machine will be autonomous. It will take its correction by its own. Just like means our you can say in ACs we are having a thermostats. Okay, you are not you can say switching on or off. It is automatically getting on and off. Right. So all my points, they will become my value added points. So they will not be anything like preventive cost or a means measurement cost. And I can also use this for my improving my maintenance. You know, in the maintenance, what is the problem we are facing right now? That if I am maintaining my machine before the time it means I am incurring more cost. So if I am exceeding that time, so then some failure will happen. So in both the scenario, I am losing money. So with the help of you can say this IoTs and Industry 4.0, I will be able to actually predict that when I have to go for my maintenance. Right. So that is it will be true predictive, and it can forecast the problem before it can occur, and we can precisely predict which part is going to fail. Means I have read one case study in Chennai. There is some invention which has been done, that if you are having a washing machine and that washing machine is giving some trouble, then that washing machine will automatically send a message to the nearest service center that this part is going to break down or this needs some replacement without your intervention. So then you will get a call from your service center, sir, your machine needs some maintenance. That is how means things will work. Okay, so it will call for developing some analytics. Okay, so what will change because of this? We will not be needing data keepers. Right now in industry, you know, there are a lot of people who are you can say, playing the role of data keepers only, even in MSMEs. But if the things are on cloud or means we are using this IoTs, then we don't need those people. There may not be any need for morning meeting because everything will be visible and you will be having a dashboards. There will not be any need to discuss about the slippages. Audit inquiries from your own customer, it will be very, very less. And the time will not be wasted and everything will be in the real time. So these are the changes which we are envisaging, and this COVID had just expedited all these things which I was expecting that it may happen after 10 years, but now I am thinking that it may happen in the next 5 years. So that time span has reduced to 50%. Right. So this was, you can say, a summary from my side that how you can reduce your cost. So first of all, you have to analyze your cost structure, that how the cost is getting built up in your product. Whatever products you are making, you will be having some bill of material, you will be having some, you can say, conversion costs will be there, labor cost will be there, manpower cost will be there. So you have to see what is the contribution for that, what is your break-even point, and how you can reduce the break-even point, because it is very, very important. If you're getting a break-even at 85% of your capacity utilization, that has a different meaning. But if you're having a break-even at 40% of utilization, that has a different meaning. So it means that you can accept more orders and you can generate more wealth for your company. So then we went for, you can say that how Industry 4.0 can help us in further reducing our cost of manufacturing. Right, so this was all about my today's session, and if you have any query, any question, we can take up that. Yes, ma'am.
So you can stop sharing your screen.
Sure.
And I also request all attendees to kindly on your video so that we can, interact. And also we need to have one group pic. Yes, we can take your queries. You can show a raise of hand, or you can unmute and ask your query.
May I ask?
Sure.
Thank you very much for the very deep presentations. The challenge is when we are talking about MSMEs, the cost of this automation, you need a good ERP, then for real-time data, you need good softwares.
That's right.
Cost again is a problem. Small scale units, they cannot bear this much cost. If PSD can do something from the government for the clusters, that will be nice.
See, cloud
individually, it's very difficult.
Cloud, you are using cloud?
New ERP we are doing on cloud only.
Cloud mein, na? So I think that is one thing which must be helping you in collecting and storing data.
Yeah, it is helping, but production system jada wo not related nahi hai na.
Okay.
Add nahi kita. We are in the process of doing that.
That is the next step. जो अभी बड़ी इंडस्ट्री ने तो start करता. They are linking their MES manufacturing जो enterprise system है. They are linking with that. Means I was just I think having presentation from Bosch. उन्होंने वो start कर दिया कि if but you are right. बड़ी company जो है वो पहले करेगी. Then slowly, and the cost of all these things are getting down and down. इसकी जो cost है ना घटती जा रही है ये. जितनी घटती जा रही है उतना ही ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਹੈਗਾ ਉਹ
पर time लगेगा, but
time लगेगा.
what experience we have, if we do it in the cluster approach, then definitely cost काफी effective हो जाएगी, economical पै जाएगी.
Exactly.
Probably, sir, we'll discuss on the same offline.
And may I ask a question?
Sure.
Sir, when we're talking about cost reduction techniques, when it is a new project, At that time, we are just concerned with making the product and selling it. So cost reduction comes at a much later stage when the product is mature, or
You are very right. Actually, these sessions has been designed in that way. This is one part of the total module. इसमें वो भी है कि अपना जो नया प्रोडक्ट है उसमें आपने कैसे करना. This is I fully agree कि जब वो आपका एक बन जाएगा, कुछ ऑर्डर आ जाएगा, उसके बाद जो है then you will start doing the
because maybe at the time of design we are thinking of the cost as a part of the design. We are trying to reduce it. But definitely not before full production is achieved or a critical level of production is achieved. So
but ये है कि अगर design stage पर भी जैसे there are certain techniques, जैसे कि हम risk analysis करके चलें कि मेरी जो मैन्युफैक्चरिंग है वो आसान हो, क्योंकि ये ना हो कि मैं डिजाइन ऐसा कर लूं कि मेरी मैन्युफैक्चरिंग जो कॉस्ट है वो बढ़ जाए. जैसे value engineering is a tool which is used at design stage only. जो difference जो है ना, sometimes people ask that what the difference between value engineering and value analysis. Value analysis we are doing when the product is already existing. Value engineering is at the time of designing a product. उस वक्त जो है मेरा what are the other material which is available, if I can use some other material and reduce my cost, or some other method of production is there which I can use and reduce. So वो design stage पर भी जो है ये value engineering का जो concept है आप use कर सकते हैं.
Yes, because we employed this idea when we were designing our product. So we did 2-3 changes after getting inputs from the clients, and as per the method to reduce our cost. Maybe it was a very low value, maybe 1% or 2%, but it eased the manufacturing process a little bit.
Yes.
So, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other queries? Sukhvinder sir, you'd like to say something?
I can just add, नरेश जी और अंकुर जी, बहुत बहुत थैंक्स. पहले तो आपका बहुत ही अच्छा और इन्फॉर्मेटिव सेशन था. And I have worked in the cost reduction value engineering department with Volvo Eicher, Pithampur, and it was a rewind for me. I loved the session. Just I want to add, जिਵੇਂ अनंत सर ने पूछा है, सुमित जी ने गल की है automation बारे, how to have industry 4.0. मतलब it's a myth to be saying it's costly. It will at the end of the day reduce the cost, and you can start automation with 4,000 also. मतलब बहुत छोटा प्रोजेक्ट भी लेके तुसी शुरू करो, develop a taste and then get into it. There are people मतलब who are doing integration, system integration, और cost reduction का मतलब expensive नहीं है. दूसरा ਜਿਹੜਾ सुमित जी ने कहा कि नवे प्रोजेक्ट वास्ते किਵੇਂ मतलब वो बहुत औखा है. मतलब I think that is the right time to get into it, because I was into value engineering. कि जब नया कुछ शुरू कर रहे हैं, that is the right time for design for manufacturability. पहला तो, और उसके quality aspects देखते हुए कि how we assure the quality, how we design it, we design the things and the tooling also, ताकि उसकी जो cost है पहले ही हम पकड़ सकें हाथ में, और उसकी जो quality है, मतलब that is the right time basically.
I fully agree with you.
This much we can add. Rest नरेश सर ने बहुत अच्छा बताया और अंकुर जी ने बहुत अच्छा ही आज सेशन लिया. I'm very happy and thankful to you all. Thanks.
Any other queries from participants? So I request all attendees to kindly switch on your videos. Those who have still not put on switch on mode. Yeah. Manjinder sir, you can have a group photograph. Jadip sir, yes. Thank you so much. Manjinder sir, if you can switch on. Mr. Gopi. Thank you, Naresh sir, and thank you, Ankur sir, for your very informative insights and sharing cost reducing strategies and methods with us. And we look forward to our tomorrow's session. This is on credit rating and alternative sources of financing for MSMEs, happening from 3 to 5 in the evening. So request you to kindly join, and we look forward to see you tomorrow as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.